Hey there! Today, we are diving deep into the world of hummingbirds. But we're going to go way beyond the usual garden tips you always hear. We're going to look at what the science actually says about creating a real sanctuary where these incredible little birds can truly thrive. So let's get into it.
Okay, let's start with the one thing everyone thinks they know. If you want hummingbirds, you plant red flowers, right? It's classic advice. But what if that's not really the whole story? What if our obsession with the color red is just one big misunderstanding?
And boom, here it is, straight from the research. A study from the Chicago Botanic Garden found that hummingbirds have absolutely no built-in or innate preference for red. And that one little fact, it changes everything. So if it's not really about the color, what are they actually looking for?
Well, to answer that, we really need to understand the why behind their choices. You see, a hummingbird's entire life is a constant, super high-stakes search for one single thing: energy. Their biology is so extreme that it dictates every single move they make, including which flowers they're going to visit in your garden. It all comes down to their metabolism. Relative to their tiny, tiny size, they have the highest metabolism of any warm-blooded animal on the planet. Just think of them as these tiny little engines that are just redlining all day long. And that puts them in a constant, almost desperate search for fuel.
So, how fast is that engine really running? Well, their wings beat an unbelievable 50 to 80 times, not per minute, per second. It's literally a blur, and it burns an incredible amount of energy.
And if that wasn't enough, then you have their heart rate. Just look at this number. It can hit up to 1,200 beats per minute. Just to put that in perspective, a healthy human heart rate is somewhere between 60 and 100. This is the biological price they pay for being such amazing acrobats in the air. So here's the bottom line. To fuel that metabolism, that insane wing speed, and that incredible heart rate, a hummingbird has to consume half of its own body weight in sugar every single day. And that's not to get ahead, that's just to survive. This one fact is the master key to understanding all of their choices. All right, so now that we get their relentless, non-stop need for fuel, let's go back and look at those common myths again. It's time to separate the garden folklore from the actual floral facts, using what the research is telling us. Let's tackle that color myth head-on. The myth is that hummingbirds are just obsessed with red, but the reality is so much cooler. They visit flowers of all colors. The reason so many hummingbird-pollinated flowers are red isn't for the birds. It's actually to keep the competition away. You see, bees, their main rivals for nectar, can't see the color red very well. So a red flower is basically like a private reserve table just for hummingbirds. Pretty smart, huh? Okay, myth number 2 is all about shape. We're always told they need those perfect, long, trumpet-shaped flowers. And sure, those shapes do help keep other insects out, but hummingbirds are constantly doing this complex little math problem in their heads called energetic profitability. They're always asking, is the nectar I'm going to get worth the energy it takes to get it? And sometimes a more open, easy-to-access flower is way more profitable than a perfectly shaped one that's kind of stingy with the nectar. This quote from the research just sums it up perfectly. They will visit almost any type of flower if the energy payout is high enough. They're not loyal to red or to tubes. They're these brilliant little strategists in a constant hunt for calories. So the big takeaway here is this: start thinking about nectar, not just color or shape. Okay, so we've busted the myths. We know what they're really after. Now for the fun part. How do we actually put this into practice in our own yards? It's time to build a plan. We need to think less like a garden decorator and more like a flight controller for a supercritical refueling station. And our goal is simple, but it is so powerful. It's something called bloom succession. The idea is to create a non-stop nectar buffet that is open from the moment they show up in the spring until the day they finally leave in the fall. For a hummingbird running on fumes, that kind of consistency is everything. So this slide here lays out the entire year. In the spring, when they first arrive, they're exhausted. So early bloomers like wild columbine are perfect for helping them recover. Then in the summer, when they're nesting and raising families, plants like bee balm and cardinal flower provide that steady support. And maybe most important of all, in the fall, late bloomers like anise hyssop give them that high-octane fuel they desperately need to power that long journey south. Now, you probably noticed that all those plants I just mentioned are natives, and that is absolutely not an accident. Native plants are so much more than just nectar. They support all the tiny insects and spiders that hummingbirds feed their young, and that's an essential source of protein. Plus, their bloom times have evolved over thousands of years to perfectly sync up with hummingbird migration.
In fact, research even confirmed that native red flowers in the east tend to bloom later in the season, right when the hummingbirds are arriving. It's a perfect system.
So, we've got the right mindset, we've got the right plants, but you know what? To build a true sanctuary, we need to think beyond just the flower bed. We need to build a complete habitat that really meets all of their needs. So let's run through a final checklist. Number 1, and this is a big one, get rid of the pesticides. They just wipe out that critical insect protein source that the baby hummingbirds need. 2, provide a water source. They especially love a fine mist or a fountain they can fly through. 3, leave your garden a little messy in the fall. Those dead stems and leaves provide a place for insects to overwinter, which then becomes hummingbird food in the spring. And finally, as we've seen, make native plants the absolute foundation of your garden.
So as we finish up, I want to leave you with this question to think about. By applying what the research really tells us, you can transform your yard from just a simple collection of nice plants into something truly profound, a vital, life-saving rest stop on one of nature's most epic and amazing journeys.